What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for November 20th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. It is game day, finally. I feel like this is the longest bye week ever. I don't know if it's because of the anticipation of the game, just because the last game we played was that big win over the Cowboys or what, but I'm ready. We'll get more into picks and analysis of the game later. But first, let's recap yesterday's question of the day. It was the 45th anniversary of the original Miracle at the Meadowlands. So I asked you, which was your favorite Miracle at the Meadowlands? Deshaun Jackson, Brian Westbrook, or the original Herm Edwards? And coming in with 60% of the vote was Deshaun Jackson's. And it's hard to argue that. I think Herm and Brian Westbrook both, they were close, typical Eagles-Giants games. I mean, Herm Edwards, it was 17-12. Brian Westbrook, they were losing 10-7, so typical defensive battles. And both of them changed the trajectory of that season. In 78, the Eagles went on to get the wild card. And for Brian Westbrook, it was basically saved the season. They were 2-3 at that point. If they'd have lost that, they'd have been in a big hole. But being able to win that game against the Giants really turned that 0-3 season around for the Eagles. But Deshaun Jackson's was just electrifying. And I think because they had gotten down into such a deep hole in that game, and being able to battle back with Mike Vick and that whole that offense really just exploding in the second half the way it did. I almost feel like we knew like when they punted it to him. First of all, why did they punt it to him? But I think everybody kind of just knew something special was going to happen. So the people have spoken. You guys think Deshaun Jackson's punt return, the game walk-off, game winner punt return to beat the Giants at MetLife Stadium, I believe it was, is your favorite Miracle at the Meadowlands. Thank you for participating. We will have another question of the day, but I'll give you a spoiler. It's game day, so it's going to be drop your Eagles predictions. But I am working on some things for December to create more fan interaction. Before we get into today's episode, a couple quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to check out the latest Back to the Future. Did an episode on the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. That's Back to the Future with a PH. There is no new episode this week for Thanksgiving, so it's a good week to catch up on the archives and check out what we've been doing. There's episodes on the Philadelphia A's. If you want to do a recap of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame ceremony from a couple weeks ago, all of that is there. Go check out the archives. Back to the Future with a PH, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. All right. Big show today, not just because it's game day. Lots of news within Philly sports. Let's start with the Sixers, 121-99 over the Nets. Joe was just his normal, incredible self. 1 assist from a triple-double. DeAnthony Melton has been lights out the past couple games. And again, this team is just they're hot right now. They're so much fun to watch. It's entertaining. Like the fact that I'm watching the Sixers instead of Red Zone, I think is a testament to what Nick Nurse has done with this team. Did have a little bit of a scare when Joe got fallen into from the side of his knee a little bit. Looked like he was okay. Have not heard any updates or anything, but he continued play the rest of the second half and played well at that point. They are off now until tomorrow with the Cavs coming to town for their final in-season tournament game. Need a little bit of help to possibly move on, but there's still a lot of games left to be played with the other teams in their pool, so we will see what happens. But good win for the Sixers. They're back in action tomorrow against the Cavs down at the Wells Fargo Center. Go to Philly Goat. I mean, I've been telling you for months now, it's Christmas season. Great place to do your shopping. I mean, I'm wearing my Fly shirt today for the Eagles game, but the selection they have is just second to none. Your one-stop shop for Philly sports-based apparel. Go check them out. I showed you the Mega John shirt. You got the Fly shirt. They have all kinds of Sixers stuff coming out and flyers. You name it, they got it. Go check them out. They have kid sizes, hoodies, T-shirts, hats. you do your Christmas shopping there. You won't be disappointed. While you're there, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order at Philly Goat. Great place to do your Christmas shopping. Go do it. They still have all those great Philly shirts too. The Believe one that the Phillies themselves started to wear. So be sure to go check that out and pick up a Phillies Believe shirt. Because, speaking of those Phils, Aaron Nola is staying. He's going to finish out his career with the Phillies. Signed a 7-year, $172 million contract. So my thoughts on this are, I don't like the 7 years. I've been very adamant about that. I think he's, 31? So I don't necessarily think 7 years. I don't know. We're going to be questioning that near the end of his career. But I think what happened is that Dombrowski and the front office went out and they looked. They didn't really like the options. And if it took an extra year to get Nola to stay, I'm okay with it. I also think, based on what some of the reports were, and I know you can't go by that because nobody really knows what's going on in the negotiations, but from a money standpoint, it seems like it's a little bit less than what some of the rumors out there. It was like 25, 30 million. I mean, it's like 24 point something million. But I don't know if he gave them a little bit of a discount, if they gave him the extra year. I don't know what the deal is. But the one thing about Nola is he's durable. He's a good locker room guy, and I think that's key, especially with this team. You see how tight they are, and when they get rolling and get hot and playing for each other. So I have a feeling they didn't like the other options. You have a guy who really wanted to stay, I would imagine, and if it takes an extra year, but for a little bit less money, I guess I'm okay with it. And again, it's you have your number two. I have a feeling they might be looking to extend Wheeler now and lock up those top two spots. The guy from Japan, Yamamoto, I'm assuming they still are in the running for him. And then you have Painter coming back, not this year, but the following year. So the window is wide open for the Phillies. So I'm okay with this. It's not going to hamstring them like some of the contracts with the '08 Phillies did. I just hope that we get more playoff Nola. And I did see his stat, and I should have. I forget the exact number, and I should have written it down, but they need to give him run support. And his record when they give him 2 or more runs is or maybe it wasn't 2 or more runs. Yeah, I think it was when they give him enough run support, he's outstanding. So sometimes when it's a close game is when he gets into trouble, maybe because he's trying to do too much. And I'm sure most pitchers are like that too. But Aaron Nola coming back, 7 years, $172 million. I don't hate it. I was not feeling all that comfortable with 7 years. However, like I said, I mean, if that extra year was what allowed him to come back versus going to the Braves or Cardinals or whoever, I'm okay with it. I would like to see them extend Wheeler now, but I still think they need to have more contact hitters in the lineup, more disciplined hitters, and I know that's not really the way the game is analytically now. Strikeouts are okay, but I would like to see guys putting the ball in play, especially with 2 outs and men on. But again, that's dating myself there. That's a very old school way of thinking, but it is what it is. Aaron Nola coming back. I'm okay with it. Well, hopefully it leads now to a World Series title. If we get a World Series out of it, excuse me, I'm more than okay with it. All right, good win for the Flyers, 5-2 over the Blue Jackets. That's now 5 straight. They actually lead the league in shorthanded goals this year, too. So they're playing well. Tortorella's got them, the young team, believing in themselves. And I feel as though, they're a young team, so they could be due for a letdown. But I feel like the winning is contagious in them. Now they're learning how to win. They're scoring shorthanded goals. They're beating the defending Stanley Cup champions. It's fun to watch. I was able to catch a little bit of this game too, and yeah, this is what happens when the Eagles play on Monday night. I'm watching Flyers and watching the Sixers. It also doesn't help that your fantasy teams are playing terrible. But good win for the Flyers, 5 straight. Let's hopefully they keep that rolling as we enter the week. All right, it's time to break down and go into the Eagles game. And ultimately, I think it comes down to forget all the hype about the Super Bowl rematch, Taylor Swift, and this, that, and the other. I think this is going to be one hell of a game. Both teams are healthy. And for me, I think it comes down to getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And I know it sounds funny because he's always so good at avoiding pressure, but I think if they can make him uncomfortable back there and really do a similar game plan to what they did with Miami, except for instead of Tyreek Hill, just keep Travis Kelce in front of you. He's going to get his, but don't let him get behind you. Don't let him create those mismatches and really have the long plays. I mean, if he has 10 catches for 100 yards, and I'm fine with that. I just don't want it to be one of those 5 catches for 125 yards. That means something broke down. Offensively, I think they got to run the ball, whether that is with Jalen, DeAndre, Gainwell, whoever. I think they got to be effectively, because offensive line is as healthy as it's going to be. Jalen doesn't have the sleeve on his knee because it's supposed to be a rainy, kind of sloppy weather. I think 70% chance of rain. So I think holding on to the ball and being able to run the ball, I think, are 2 keys for this game for the Eagles. I think because Kansas City has a good defense, I think that Jalen is going to be fine. It's going to come down to whether or not they can run the ball. And ultimately, especially if it's going to rain, I mean, this is very cliche, I know, but it's going to come down to taking care of the ball and not turning the ball over. And that goes for both sides. I need a big day out of this defense. I need some big plays. There haven't been many big plays defensively. So I would love to see Big Play Slay come up with a big play or 2 tonight. The spread right now is 3. The over-under is 45.5. Essentially, this game is a pick'em. It's a coin flip. I think it's going to come down to who executes the best. And I mean, here we are in the gauntlet of this schedule, and we're 1 game in. We're 1-0. They're not going to go 6-0 during this gauntlet. They are going to lose a game, maybe 2. Is this the game they lose? I mean, next week's game's not looking as tough as we originally thought. The Buffalo game, San Francisco game is going to be a battle no matter what. And then you have the Cowboys again, and now that Seattle game doesn't look as intimidating as it once did too, because Geno Smith is banged up. I don't know. This is a tough one for me to pick because my heart is saying Eagles. For the fact that Jalen Hurts, whether he publicly says it or not, this is a big revenge game, payback game for him. You can't count him out. Mailata said the same thing. It's Andy Reid coming off the bye too. It's tough. I think this line too is perfect. It's been between 2.5 and 3 all week. I think this is a field goal game either way. Like I said, it's going to come down to whoever makes the least amount of mistakes. The fact that the Eagles have not been very good at taking care of the ball and have been lucky against inferior teams have been the difference. If they do what they've done all season, they can't win this game turning the ball over more times than Kansas City. And that's what scares me, especially in the rain. If I had to make a pick against the spread, I would say take the Chiefs minus the points. However, for our official bet, which we were 8-4-1 on the year on, I'm going to do a same game teaser on this. I'm going to tease it up, take the Eagles +9, tease the over down, and take over 39.5. I think that's the way to go on this. And I mean, honestly, I hope I'm wrong on this prediction. I truly, truly do. in my head, I'm like, I've seen them turn the ball over so much this year, uncharacteristically too. So maybe coming off the bye, it's going to take it, but you throw in the fact that it might be a little wet and rainy. I can't trust them. And again, I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'm hopefully putting the reverse jinx on that. But the official play is the same game 6-point teaser. Tease the Eagles up to 9, take plus 9, and then tease the over to 39.5. So take over 39.5, Eagles plus 9. There's our official bet. Let's go 9-4. Hopefully the Eagles prove me wrong. But I think if they are going to lose a game 2 in this gauntlet, I'd rather it be this one. And I know for the storylines and made for TV, Monday Night Football, they're going to talk all about the Super Bowl. But this is the game that they could. I'd rather them lose this game. If they're going to lose a game, I'd rather it not be against Dallas. I'd rather it not be against the 49ers. So this is the game. I mean, Andy Reid out of bye. No shame in losing to the Chiefs. I think we're going to see them again down the road. But I think at this point, and maybe I'm wishful thinking. I don't know. I don't see them winning this game. I hope I'm wrong, but I'd rather lose this game and win the 49ers. But let me know what you think. That is today's question of the day. What are your picks for the Eagles game? Am I wrong? Do the Eagles blow them out? I don't think either team gets blown out, to be honest. But let me know what you think. Do the Eagles win comfortably? Be sure to hit me up on social media. Shoot me a text. Respond wherever you're watching or listening to this. But let me know, what are your picks and predictions for tonight's Eagles game? Good day also, because the Eagles play on Monday night. One last day to check out Clashing Conferences podcast for this week. Check out my boys over there. See what their thoughts are. Excuse me. On this game. It's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. All right, sticking with an Eagles theme today, we are going to go back to 1960. And on November 20th, 1960, the Eagles beat the Giants 17-10 at Yankee Stadium. Norm Van Brocklin threw for 236 yards and a touchdown. Tommy McDonald, 4 catches for 80 yards and that touchdown. Bobby Walston, 6 catches for 119 yards. But the big story out of this game was this is the most iconic 1960s, probably maybe even in the NFL picture you've ever seen. And this was when Chuck Bednarik basically almost decapitated Frank Gifford. It was voted as one of the most vicious hits in NFL history. Legal hit, by the way. But in a 10-10 game in the fourth quarter, first place was on the line. We talked about the miracle at the Meadowlands and how close the Eagles-Giants always played. It was no different back in the 60s. Frank Gifford caught a screen pass, or was taking a pass over the middle, and he was greeted promptly by Chuck Bednarik, who hit him instantly. Most people don't remember this part of the story, though, because they just remember the hit and the iconic picture of Bednarik standing over top of him. He forced a fumble that was returned for a touchdown that won the game for the Eagles. I think lost in all of the hits and everything, and the iconic picture of him standing over Frank Gifford, and then Bednarik saying, "This fucking game is over," I think is lost in it is that it actually won the game. Again, it was a legal hit by any stretch, and people were like, "Oh, well, he was taunting him." And basically, Bednarik said in interviews, "I didn't know he was as hurt as he was." Gifford said, "Listen, he hit me the same way I would have hit him." Because remember, back then, everybody played both ways. That game, again, the Eagles would go on to win the championship that year, in part because they won this game against the Giants. Gifford missed the following year with a severe concussion, but again, it was a clean hit. Both players have said it. But on this day in 1960, the Eagles beat the Giants 17-10 when Chuck Bednarik basically almost killed Frank Gifford. I mean, there were people on the field that thought he was dead because he didn't move, and that's how hard the hit was. And then Bednarik famously stood over him and said, "This fucking game is over." The Eagles would go on to win the championship. And everybody has the most iconic photo ever. Like, I think my brother has a signed Chuck Bednarik, or maybe I don't know if Kyle has it or not. Maybe you can let me know, Kyle. But I've seen one where Chuck Bednarik standing over him side, and he says this fucking game is over. So one of the greatest to ever do it. Both men. Chuck Bednarik he was a Hall of Famer, became one of the most iconic Eagles ever. Frank Gifford went on to be the Monday Night Football guy and married Kathy Lee. But on this day, Chuck Bednarik almost decapitated Frank Gifford in a 17-10 win over the Giants in Yankee Stadium. All right. We talked a little bit about Philly Goat and Christmas shopping. Time to go check out Car Can as well. Shifting gears a little bit, this is one of those gifts that it's good stocking stuffer, good for the people in your office. I have one in my car. The kids love it now. Like they're like picking up trash off the road now. Like they're a litter crew. All right, maybe not, but they're putting their trash in there. So go to carcan.com, check it out. They have all kinds of different car organizational items, stuff for your trunk, cup holders, for your glove compartment. And again, it makes a great gift for your office if you're a team leader and you need to buy Christmas gifts for your team. Go check them out, carcan.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery 20 off for 20% off of your order. That's carcan.com, promo code Jim Montgomery 20 off. Take 20% off your order and order now so you can have them in time for Christmas. All right, finally today, we're going to continue our Phillies' most disappointing athlete. And today, this one is probably going to get some people fired up. It's Jahlil Okafur, who was a first-round pick in 2015, number 3 overall. His rookie year, he had a ton of off-the-court issues. Remember, he got into those fights in Boston. He ended up missing 30 games because he tore his meniscus. I don't think they were related, though. The next year, he missed 30 more games because of knee soreness, same knee. Just never really fit in, and he was expected to be sort of, this is when Joe was finally starting to come back and play, and the hopes were that with Okafur they would have been like the Twin Towers almost, and then after that 16-17 season he asked for a buyout or a trade, and they had trouble trading him because nobody wanted him. The contract, it was just a mess. So they ultimately did trade him that December. But 3 years, he played 105 games for the Sixers, 14.6 points per game, 6 rebounds. He's currently out of the league, and ultimately is just the epitome, one of the Mount Rushmore of process failures for the Sixers. But Jahlil Okafur is today's Philly sports most disappointing athlete. And I expected more out of him, but the Duke curse, I guess, is a real thing. Not too many Duke players make it successful careers in the NBA, except for J.J. Redick. But man, had such high, I'm disappointed just thinking about it because I had such high hopes for this guy, and I mean the Sixers did what they were tanking, and I think the process would have worked, but the players they had were just soft. Jahlil Okafur is soft. But he's today's Philly sports most disappointing athlete. On this day back in 1960, Chuck Bednarik had his iconic hit on Frank Gifford. Give me your Eagles picks. I don't see them winning this game, but I told you we're taking the Eagles +9, over 39.5, same game teaser. It's going to be a long day. It's just, it is. We've been anticipating this game. I'm ready. I'm pumped. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, go Birds.